this is Sully for Antisocial News, and this is the body count report for Wednesday, September 27th, 2017, and there's been a lot going on around the world. We've had some interesting stories to cover and some interesting new information on the Rohingya situation in Myanmar. So if you missed that, check out the body count report for yesterday. Pretty impressive, pretty interesting stuff. Also the hard R terror attack discussed in that video. So looking at real news stories where people are fighting for or losing their lives around the world. And there is one layers upon layers link, which I've included in the list. I'm not going to talk about it because it's not a life or death situation. But it was at the time that the conflict started about comfort women. So check out that story. If you're from Southeast Asia, you probably already know what that means. If you don't, check out the link. It's the layers upon layers link in the link list. So check that out. Times of India reporting that the army forces, Pakistan's border area task force to back off, which is basically a military victory in the ongoing conflict in the LOC there. So check out that story. Pretty impressive, and they straight up accused Pakistan of outsourcing their border protection to terrorism. So pretty interesting. Israel fears Hezbollah will receive precision-guided missiles developed by Iran. So this is Jerusalem Post reporting, and they are noticing not just there's other issues too, where Iran is trying to reconcile the relationship that they had with Hamas, which if you know about some of the conflict, Hamas is a Sunni Muslim terrorist organization, but stop the hammering! Stop the hammering! A Sunni Muslim terrorist organization, but they are willing to accept money from anybody who's willing to support their cause. So Iran has also been working on reconciling the relationship that they had with them in order to attack Israel. So Israel is also fearing that Hezbollah is getting precision-guided missiles from Iran, which would make rocket attacks much more deadly. They are constantly looking to defend their country from many threats, and Iran is the biggest money potential threat in the area. Declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization is unfair, says Nwodo at Chatham House. Nwodo, speaking on behalf of the indigenous people of Biafra, regarding the Nigerian government's claim that the indigenous people of Biafra are a terrorist organization and not what they claim to be, which is simply a group speaking on behalf of the indigenous tribes in eastern Nigeria, southeastern Nigeria. So, as always, we are following this story, and our thoughts and prayers are with Johnson's family, who might be caught in the crossfire in this situation. We have a contributor who is associated with the conflict there in Nigeria. So, thoughts go out to you. Johnson, thank you for linking us to Vanguard Nigeria, who is reporting on this situation. Check it out in the link list below. And very convoluted situation here. Once again, looking to Israel, we have Interpol handcuffs Prime Minister's hope of ending automatic anti-Israel majority. So this is a convoluted headline, but basically, Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to not have sort of a constant anti-Israel international community, and one of the ways they were going to do that is to keep the Palestinian state out of recognition by Interpol. And Interpol now recognizes the Palestinians with the ability to put warrants out with Interpol and try to widen their stage. Now this is something I'm a little conflicted on, because if they really are doing what they say, which is just going after criminals within their community that may have escaped to another country, then it's not something I necessarily have a problem with. But since the very first warrant that Mahmoud Abbas says, oh yeah, okay, yeah, good, Interpol's on our side. The first warrant I want to take out is against my political enemy, who's up on corruption charges. So instantly it's like, okay, this doesn't look like it's on the up and up. But maybe we should put some trust in our international community, right? Maybe they're not making a huge mistake and giving a country that and that was from Times of Israel. And there's another story on the same on the same subject. The UN Secretary General, Hamas glorifying terrorism is deplorable and undermines possibility of peace. I'd like to remind people that Hamas is who runs the Palestinian areas of Israel, the Palestinian state, as it's referred to colloquially. Hamas runs that, and the UN recognizes that Hamas is glorifying terrorism and is literally deplorable. So you've got UN saying that the people who run Palestine are what's causing the problem there, preventing peace. And then you have Interpol saying, yeah, Palestine can totally put out warrants and be part of the international law enforcement community in the world. So a little bit of a conflict of interest, I think. A little bit of irony there, and also a situation to keep your eye on, because if we see the furtherance of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiment being promoted by their inclusion in this is a very bad deal. I mean, there's anti-Semitism here in the United States, which is guys in polo shirts with tiki torches, or there's anti-Semitism attached to the BDS movement, which actually kills Jews, runs them down in the streets, and in Spain guns them down here in schools and government buildings, bombs them. The BDS movement is an actual violent terrorist movement against Israel. It's actively anti-Semitic and actively trying to kill Jews, as opposed to the rhetorical BS that the behind-the-computer anti-Semites engage in here in the U.S. So this is a situation to really keep an eye on. America, we're really focused on Nazis. Nazis are the biggest, scariest thing on the planet to us, but we tend to ignore the actual the actual guys who can cause a real body count. And I think we need to stop doing that as a world, as a planet, as a species. So keep an eye on this situation. The United Nations has condemned the terrorists, while Interpol has empowered their associates. Okay, moving on to our last story. The Arab-Israeli ISIS fighter was killed in Syria. This is a very interesting situation because it shows Israel's reaction to ISIS, which is something that's widely underreported in the United States. Israel has been openly anti-ISIS forever because Israel doesn't like Sunni terrorist groups, or Shia terror groups for that matter. But yeah, they had not only spoken out against them, but they were revoking citizenship or passports for people who left to go join ISIS, which is something that was looked at as a revolutionary or discriminatory concept here in the U.S. So Israel was making more steps against ISIS than the U.S. was, and they've taken away the ability to come back to Israel for 19 people who ran off to join ISIS. And like I said, that goes widely unreported in the United States, which is what allows those behind-the-computer wannabe Nazis to spread anti-Semitic rhetoric that Israel is behind ISIS and stuff like that, when I think by now we should kind of know that we should know who was behind ISIS by now. If you don't, you're an idiot. And no, it wasn't Israel. It was... Well, here in D.C., they should be able to hear me. No, but there is a direct money paper trail to our support of an organization known as the Free Syrian Army, which so basically we gave all the money needed to the organization that became them. So it was indirect, but yeah, no, that wasn't Israel. That was the U.S. We did that. Our bad. Whoops. So check out the story for a little bit more on the ground intel on what the Arab-Israeli appeal is to joining ISIS, and what the Israeli response to people trying to join ISIS is, and of course the becoming slightly more complicated while resolving itself situation of ISIS is, check that link out. It is the last link on the link list for yesterday, September the 27th, 2017, and this is Sully for Antisocial News. Jump on our Discord, email me, sully@antisocialnews.com, or go ahead and send me a gift. Send me a cashier's check for all that you're worth to P.O. Box 51783, Washington D.C. 20091. Why don't you do that? I'll be waiting for it. All right, yeah, this has been the body count report for Wednesday. Did I say Tuesday? I meant to say Wednesday, September 27th, 2017. Stay safe, everybody.